The views expressed in this program do not necessarily reflect those of this station.
Welcome to Insights into Northeast Michigan, a WBKB News public affairs program.
Right at the cuff of Northeast Michigan sits the town of Alpena. This little whistle stop has views many people enjoy. Taking a closer look, it's also 96% white. Most people in town know this city from the shoreline all the way to the outskirts. And then there's that other 4% of the population, scattered throughout, some with no origin to the great north, hoping to call this place home too. I've set out to hear their stories and discover the kind of home, away from home, these families have come to learn and the struggles some of them face while being here. Welcome to the untold side of Alpena. I'm Elijah Baker, and what I'm about to show you may be surprising. I spoke with 3 minority families with 3 different stories being told for the first time.
You need to teach your kids about race and what not to say. Him right here, my 10-year-old, it's this little boy that been bullying him like every day. He call them niggers every day. Or tell him like, I'm gonna beat you up, you nigger, or you black kid, every day.
So he kept on calling me the N-word. So I gave him 5 warnings because he hit me and kept on hitting me. So I told him, if you hit me one more time, I'm gonna defend myself. So he hit me again, so I hit him, so I hit him in his face. And it's this other boy who did it. He's coming in my face, calling me all the N-words, and he tried to punch me. So he punched me in my stomach 5 times. Then he punched me again, so that counted 6.
Each time Dorian Hunt was called the N-word, to him, it felt like he was getting punched straight in the stomach over again. I
told my kid, if he call you that again, don't sweat it, call him back out his name. But if he hit you, yeah. I told the principal, yes, hit him back, because that's bullying.
The Downtown Development Authority is the center of Alpena's heart. If anyone is knowledgeable on forging a culture of acceptance, it's the director beside me, Ann Gentry.
You know, having those employers that are committed to not just bringing in people that already live here, but bringing people from different backgrounds and different experiences is crucial, as well as having an open environment where, you know, people of different races or different cultures, different sexualities can feel like this is an accepting place and not just a closed-minded small town. I started this position about almost a year ago, so I started last April, and I grew up in Alpena, went away to college like most people, and then moved back for a little bit, and I worked at the Marine Sanctuary here in downtown. The mission of the DDA and what I work on most days is to better the downtown. Because there's definitely a lot of people that always, you know, grew up here and stayed here, and that's great. But I think the more people you can get that have, you know, really traveled or really lived in other places, and then bring those experiences back, would be phenomenal.
That's the Cracker Barrel. And that's Jagar Dave. He is one of very few minority business owners in Alpena. By the time crew members mop up and shut the lights down, Dave likes to look back at where his family came from.
We are originally from India. My uncle sponsored us to bring us in America, US, which is 1999. After a couple of years later, went to the India to get married, which is I'm married to the Priyanka Dave.
It's been 11 years that we got married. Yeah.
Dave used to run a liquor store similar to the Cracker Barrel, but after spending 10 years in a Maryland community, they wanted something better for their little girl and future baby on the way.
And that's why we are thinking, me and my wife, okay, we should close, find some different place so we can raise our real families and kids. and we found Alpena.
But we did look it up, the population here, like how diverse is it, and then we did see that it was predominantly white, but that didn't affect to make our decision to move and settle in Alpena. Drumi is in preschool right now, and she really enjoys, and she's gonna be 4, so she hasn't been really exposed to the school environment. I mean, she is in a preschool where she does, have a different hair color and different skin tone, but I have never heard from her teachers being like she's treated differently or anything like that by the other kids, or the other kids have said something like, oh, you look different or anything like that.
What about language? Do you speak your native language here to each other?
At home, my in-laws, Dave's parents, stays with us. They are right now in India. But with them, and then especially with Drumi, we always try to speak in our native, or in our mother tongue, because we want her to learn, as we don't have much cultural exposure here. It is difficult because outside house, I mean, she doesn't have anyone to talk to. So, and then naturally we try to speak in our language with her as much as we can, but also we day-to-day life speak in English, so we mostly, get conversation change into English. So.
Mary Beth Stutzman has a key role in the community. As the director of the Convention and Visitors Bureau, tourists can expect to meet her at least once. And when it comes to racial and ethnic diversity, she gets it.
A couple of things came to mind when you contacted me. One is that my educational background is in communication, and part of studying how people communicate is studying the differences in communication between different ethnicities or different socioeconomic levels. So things like that are of interest to me, and all a part of a lot of families here. They have a lot of immigrant heritage. A lot of people move here for work, for professional positions such as at the hospital or at some of the factories.
Mariflor Ramirez and her son Joseyan Rodriguez aren't moving out.
We just moved here, so I have all my furniture back at home, and we're trying to, as Joseyan said, we're trying to live with that and cope with that, because I'm not going to get the things I already have.
Until then, Mariflor has already settled into her new position at Alpena's only hospital, Mid-Michigan Health Center. Talk to me about what that interview process was like. You're their first Puerto Rican staff member?
Yes. When I came here to Alpena, that was like quite a surprise for me. They have like a panel of, there were like 6 or 7 people I had to interview with. And my English was very, very rusty. Being in Puerto Rico for 30 years, I don't know, I had something inside that was driving me, and I was so determined, and I did the interview, and everybody was, okay with me, and they liked my character, my strong personality.
Strength. That's the word some of these families have to hold tight in the waking of fear and refuge. 2,000 miles away, in the belly of the Atlantic Ocean, a Category 5 hurricane hit Puerto Rico. It's still lost in chaos and suffering, where this mother and son escaped just 3 months ago.
That night was horrible. That night was horrible. We can never like sleep well. And the other day, it was just other Puerto Rico.
It was just like a nightmare, being born there and knowing that Puerto Rico before Maria and after Maria, it's a whole different Puerto Rico. Devastation was huge. Communications were down. The electrical grid was down. Water quality was very, very bad for almost like a month after Maria.
Jose Jan was at his father's house the night Hurricane Maria's wrath consumed the island on September 19th of last year. Mari Floyd was separated from her son for 3 full days.
I tried to contact him like the day after the hurricane, but I had no way out.
Thanks God we had a chainsaw that helps to just clean the road and be able to see my mom, my immediate family, at least. The Puerto Rico that I used to see is not the same, so that kind of attitude, that kind of feeling, I think was the most that I lost.
So I can tell you that we Puerto Ricans are pretty brave people, and we always try to make the best out of the worst.
Absolutely.
And we figured as a family that this was a huge opportunity for us to move on.
3 months after Maria, we moved here.
Yeah, I think a big thing in a lot of kids that grow up, I mean, that's why I went away to school, is because it is a largely white community here, and it's crucial to have experiences with different people, with different cultures, different backgrounds.
Can we go to the beginning, Takara, on where you're from and how did your beautiful family wind up here in Alpena, Michigan?
I'm from Detroit, and it's a long story. I'm gonna sum it up. Like I got here because I'm on this Facebook group called Friends Helping Friends. It's like a whole bunch of women that's helping each other. I violated my lease where I was living there and let my sister and her kids come stay with me, and you know, I ended up getting evicted, and then after that I was struggling.
Through the connections Takara made through Facebook, she was able to move into a shelter, something temporary, to get back on her feet.
I happened to see the lady on Facebook, and I drove all the way up here. I didn't even know like where Alpena was at before I even came here.
Where did you think it was?
So I put in the GPS and saw this at 4 hours. I'm like, oh my God. Stopped and got me an oil change. I got one of my tires, put some air in it, and me and the kids, I think I only had 1 garbage bag full of clothes.
2 weeks in, Takara gave birth to her 1-year-old Skylar.
The ladies up there is really nice. Like, they watched the kids for me while I was in the hospital. And when I came back from out the hospital, like a week later, they had me a house, which was this. They found me a house. It's not everybody. It's not everybody up here racist. I met some really cool people.
Can you talk to me about what it's like to be a mother, you know, raising black children here in a town like Alpena?
Yeah, it's kind of hard. Like, I liked the kids' school at first, and then I recently just like started having like different problems with the teacher.
Dorian is in the 5th grade, and he walks with his brother to Ella White Elementary School each day. A school is a place for learning and catching a break to shoot some hoops on the blacktop during recess. But for Dorian's mother, Takara, standing on a sideline is unbearable, hearing that her son gets called out of his name.
So the principal was asking me, like, why is it that Dorian keep on getting into it with everybody? This is the second boy he got into it with over the same problem. And I was letting her know, like, well, why do you think it is? Like, because of his race. Like, he's different from everybody else. So, yeah, they're going to pick on him.
I wanted to speak with the principal, but this was a matter I had to take up with someone higher. That's when I scheduled to meet with the superintendent of Alpena Public Schools, John Van Wagner. If there's a situation that happens in the classroom where a student is getting repeatedly called the N-word, what happens?
Well, the first thing is when we talk to kids, the first thing is we don't want it to get to that level. Really, if they have the first incident at that point, they need to let an adult know, because, you know, one time at that point, it's not okay. And so I'd say in that situation, we would want the student to not let it get to that type of point where it's multiple times. If we get to that point where it's one situation like that, we want that student to report it so that we can begin for that principal to, you know, look at the situation and look at how we can resolve it first and foremost, rather than letting it escalate to any point like that.
The last time I almost got suspended and get a disciplinary slip because I kept on telling her the boy hit me first and I hit him back. And she kept on saying, you should have told me, you should have told me. And he told a whole different story. He kept on saying, calling him out his name, and I hit him. So then when I told her my story, she kept on ignoring me, and I said, I didn't even get to tell part of my story. And then she kept on saying, there's no reason to hear your part of the story.
Throughout the founding of America, there have always been divides between different ethnicities, different class levels, different professions, and it's still, unfortunately, alive and well today. And really what it comes down to, I think, a lot is about upbringing and how you're taught to view other people.
I would love to see in schools or in community to have some kind of festivals or some diversity programs where people can get together and learn each other's culture. That way people have more knowledge about each other's culture.
Priyanka is a nurse at Mid-Michigan Health Center, the same place where Mariflor works. Shortly after moving, Priyanka met a retired nurse who has lived in Alpena for about 40 years.
She saw me at work one day, and then we started talking. And then she's the one who actually, she was the one who actually introduced to the other families. And it was shocking for us because we thought there were no other Indians. When we had our Indian New Year, Miss Mary invited us to the Indian get-together, and that's when we met the other family. So it was very surprising, and it was very pleasing to see some of our culture. We were just so happy that, you know, we could have Drumi involved in it, and she takes some of it. So yeah.
In US is a Western culture we call. We are living northern Michigans. If you go cities, they have a lot of temples, they have a lot of activity for the kids. Then they can learn a lot of own languages.
We both know that Alpena is predominantly white, and you are a minority family. But not only that, you are minority business owners. What does it mean to be a minority business owner?
See, when we were looking for the business, we never had that in our mind, you know, because talking about me personally, when I moved to America, it was easy for me because when I got married and I moved, I was in Chicago, so there was a lot of culture, right? So I got blended into the American culture very easily at that time, and then coming to Alpena when we were looking for the options, that never struck us that we would be a minority or something like that. We were just looking for the right business and right town to raise the family.
What does that mean to have a child who is ethnically diverse grow up in a town that they have no origins to?
You know, a lot of these issues that you see playing out at a national scale is if you've never, you know, met someone that's different from yourself, it's hard for you to put those issues into perspective. But if you have, you know, the chance to meet someone and really engage in those conversations and, you know, talk about how being raised is different, talk about these issues, I mean, I think that's so crucial to being successful and to understanding what's going on.
I want everybody to know and to get to know Puerto Ricans as they really are. We are hardworking people. We are very strong personality people, and that's what I want to model.
I made a little research about the city and noticed that there is not too many young people around, that most of the people are elder people. My attitude was just, well, let's give it a chance and let's be positive. Let's be positive with this opportunity and at the same time be very grateful.
The Puerto Rico Mariflor and Joseyan once knew may have washed away many shared memories on the island, but their hearts are full with the spirit of giving.
Well, my friend, this is all Puerto Rican cuisine. We have here rice with sausage. The magic of this rice is just putting a lot of flavor into the water. And Here we have like our Puerto Rican lasagna that is made with sweet plantains and ground turkey. You can smell the, you know?
It smells good.
Yeah.
Smells good. Hmm? We cook for the family and we want it to be good and tasty and warm because that's the way we are.
What about it?
When you think about just geographically where we're located, kind of by default, we're not going to get some of the ethnicities that might be more prevalent in southern parts of Michigan that are easier to get to. It was just by default, it was easier to travel to. It was easier for people to stay and settle. Throughout history, to get to Alpena, you had to take a stagecoach or a horse through basically northern Michigan jungle. You know, there are a lot of factors that led to how we developed, but also have led to who we are today.
Mary Beth said, what often happens in the past can lead to where we will wind up in the future. There are families I haven't even connected with, stories waiting to be told, stories of getting married in your native country, all those memories and friends that are not here with you now. What do you miss?
Restaurant. We miss the restaurants.
We definitely miss all the different restaurants and you know, we lived in Chicago for so long, so we had tried like different ethnicity food and all that stuff, which you don't get here much, but we do have a couple great restaurants here that we enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Dave makes samosas upon request when he's working at the store. And as far as he and his wife knows, there's no other Indian eatery in town.
We have been asked so many times if we would like to open an Indian restaurant, but while I work at the hospital and having Cracker Barrel, it's so hard. But no, restaurant is not something that is in our talks right now.
Yeah.
No.
Do you feel like this is a place for other families with Indian descent to move to?
I think what we always have said to our family and friends that I think now it's been 2 years that we moved here, and then we say that we are very blessed. I know we took a big risk in our life to move, you know, from Maryland to Alpena, but we feel very blessed because the community has been very, very supportive of us since day one.
Before Amari, Flor, and Hoseyan relocated to Alpena, they also had the option to move somewhere else.
It was Abilene, Texas. Mm-hmm. And my fiance's family, they live in Texas. They're from Cuba and they live in Texas. And it was so easy for us to go there, but I chose here. I don't know, you know, there's a reason for everything. And we're figuring that out. But so far, so good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think Alpena is ready to see more Blacks and Asians or Latinos, you know, move into the community?
I think that's basically our responsibility, the way we conduct ourselves and behave in Alpena. And that's gonna open or slam shut the doors.
It surprised me a lot how people manage to maintain this city like without many diversity. So we know the responsibility that we have for open the diversity to come here.
We by no means want to disrupt or be disruptive, or we just want, you know, them to be comfortable with us and us to feel comfortable in this environment. So that's our goal right now, and we've talked about this as a family, and I'm always like, we have to be careful, we have to respect. They have, you know, embraced, you know, our coming here, and we are very, 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 very conscious of it.
of the people I really don't want to call racist. This is what they used to. So like, when they see like a black family or a Hispanic family, they can't act like how today's society is. Like, yeah, they're gonna judge you because what all goes on, or they're gonna judge you from the next black person who did something dumb. So they're gonna judge everybody else they see.
And when that judgment or fear becomes too much to bear, it leaves some families with no other choice but to pack up and go.
I'm kind of really scared for them, for the young black men to grow up here. What do I tell you, Dorian? Every time we walk in the store, I have to tell him to take off his hood. Because, you know, like, that's like a lot of black men got killed, like, that was like in white areas or suburban areas. I shouldn't have to go through that and tell him that. And the first time I told him to take off his hood, he asked me, like, why? Why can't I wear my hood? And I had to explain to him that, like, no parent want to have to go through that and have to explain to their young black kids, like, what's really happening in the world. I honestly think Northern Michigan is not for black people, and sooner or later the black people or the black families that live here will notice. Well, I guess like, I can't never forget about Alpena, like the nice people that I did meet and my experience of having her up here, so I can't forget about it because I have to tell her like this is where she was born.
Talk to me about how that experience, being around other cultures and different diverse people, help shape what you're trying to do for Alpena today.
I guess, you know, the short answer is just it gave me a whole new appreciation for how varied people's experiences are. Because growing up here, I thought, oh, you know, everyone has an experience growing up similar to mine.
There might be similarities, but there are also differences. It can be hard growing up thinking everything is the same.
So I think a lot of, I mean, Alpena's history in terms of its main like economic base has been very diverse, you know, going from a lumbering community to concrete community to paper community, and really having a lot of those different economic drivers. So, you know, bringing those different types of businesses, because people nowadays don't just want to come to the downtown and see one type of business. You know, they want to eat at different places, they want to grab coffee at different places, they want to go see a show. So a lot of that is, you know, how can we vary what we offer in our downtown so, you know, people can spend a weekend and have different experiences and not just have to eat at the same place every night.
Because what is very familiar to us here is not very familiar in Australia or not very familiar in Russia. Everyone has differences. And understanding that we're a very small part of a much bigger global picture helps bring some of those home and realize that there's a lot of equality gaps in how we view the world in some ways in our myopic lifestyle that we might live in a small town.
Even though Alpena is predominantly white, there are others who live here too, with their own stories and cultures to share. Understanding the heritage, language, and traditions these families have brought with them is a chance to embrace diversity in all sense of its meaning. And regardless of where anyone is from, Alpena is still a place many call home.